Uh, just sharing the agenda again. So last but certainly not least is Brad. And so I know you're online, Brad. Let me just stop sharing. Are you ready to present?
I am. Let me go.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Your audio's clear.
Alrighty. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about a thing I've been puttering with in a bit, and how I've plugged it into micro E4, aka the engine end or ESP32 fourth. So the motivation of this project is that I use a lot of different laptops. I happen to have a bunch of different Chromebooks that I've gotten over the years floating around my house, and at work I'll be in all kinds of different places. And so I have a tendency to not be always on one computer. And I often have fourth related ideas, and I find that I'll want to jot something down and maybe remember it for later. And I find that if I have too many options, that they overwhelm me. So I guess for some reason I like blocks. And for me, block editors it's a thing I've been stuck on before. I way back in 2008 with Rainbow Fourth, I played around with a color fourth variant that was it used 64 by 16 blocks, but had a color tag. And I even actually discovered when I was building this tool that I had stuck some plumbing into at least one copy of Micro E4 on the web, and managed to forget it. So it's one of these recurring themes where I well, seem to go down this particular road. I suspect it's because the first fourth that I really used was Pygmy fourth, and that fourth, for those who've seen it use blocks really well, seems to have stuck in my head. So, anyways, I've built this tool. And this is the tool the slide deck is in, actually, by the way, the editor here. And it's built in App Engine, which is Google's cloud turnkey cloud option. It used to be more of a standalone system, but over the years they've built it into a thing that really just runs on top of a more regular VM. It has an integrated data store API that is now built on Firebase, and it's mostly just a sort of a wrapper over a Python virtual environment. As per the latest recommendations, I use Flask, and then I use JavaScript to render the text you're seeing to a canvas, and I just stretch a monospace font. So if I don't know if this will show on the VC, but depending on how I shrink or stretch the whoops, actually I don't know if that will show if I don't let go. But I'm just stretching it to whatever aspect ratio gives me 16 by actually 64 by 17. What I'm doing is I'm storing a bunch of blocks. I keep a whole bunch of blocks locally in memory in the browser, and then just keep track of some flags for if they're dirty or if they've been loaded. And then I load them in chunks of 64 blocks at a time, because it's reasonably efficient to ask for like 64K all in a go. But when I save, I save them only a block at a time, and I check for updates and writes every 3 seconds. So it has a feel a little bit like Google Docs, where you change a thing and then after a short while it's been saved. Who am I building it for? I'm building it for me for the moment, just because part of the reason I think I go down this road a lot is that I think there's a problem of if you want to have block storage, it's a neat idea for a single user system, but oftentimes because I've had this long-standing desire to have a thing that's available to me wherever I go. I'll go down the rabbit hole of thinking about how to make it work for multiple users, and there lies madness. Oftentimes I'll get caught up in the question of how you might share sort of a block-based space over lots of users, and that there's many different ideas I've had over the years, but I figured, part of why I think I keep swirling here is that I've thought about, that too much. So I'm in this particular instance focusing just on me, and I've got some authentication set up so that I can log in from anywhere with a, not too much fuss. And then I'll worry about generalizing it later and just for now focus on me. So that's one of the reasons I haven't open sourced it just yet. I probably will at some point, but so the editor is a very simple editor. It lets you move around, lets you type. You can move up and down in the blocks. You'll notice there's little markers in the status line. The D means dirty, so if you hit the key and then wait a few seconds, now it's saved and then it's back again. I want to be able to move text around pretty easily. So as you type, it does do insert. As you delete, it does back, but it doesn't. If you just do this from a small distance away, it doesn't start doing anything until you get kind of right up to where the text is, which lets you kind of move things around. There's no shadow blocks. I keep trying shadow blocks, but I don't personally care for them for some reason, and I think it's just I like documentation kind of in line with the code and so on. There's that autosave, as I mentioned. There's an option to go find the next empty block with Control O. There's a back button. Control B will take you back down various paths. Similarly, well, actually, I'll go if I go to an empty block and I hit Control L, I can create like an entry for some topic, and I've been using this as a little bit of a personal diary. I'm going to go back. I have a notion of links. There's two styles. One of them is uses this @ sign and a number, and if you hit one of those, what will happen is that it jumps to that block. So we've jumped to block number 1. I can scroll around, from 1, and then I hit Control B, and it takes me back to where I was. So there's this stack of places that I've been. So far so good. That's kind of the environment. When I presented this to SVFig, that was all I had. I've been pondering, I want to jam Forth in here. I could have built something like this in Forth, I suppose, but I was starting from the goal of having it be something that had those properties in the web, and I have a tendency to start with a blank slate sometimes, for good or for ill. But of course, I found myself, the next thing is obviously to have Forth. I thought about building one from scratch again, but Micro eForth has the ability to be embedded on the web. It's not got the greatest interface for doing that, but there is a way to do it. You can load it all in one big JS file, and then it will go kind of create itself based on a div tag on the screen. There's a global object that it will stuff things into called Micro eForth that will let you manipulate its state, and then there's actually an interface to add words to it. One way to do that is to actually just have a regular script tag with the type set as text/forth, and it will happily load that up. And that lets you add in additional things to it. So in this environment, if I hit Control F, it actually goes ahead and boots up Micro eForth, and then I have that environment. And if I hit Control F again, it brings me back to the editor, so I can toggle about the two. And right now what I've done is I've shared out read-only block storage so that these blocks are available as blocks to that environment. And then the way that's done is, Micro eForth on the web has a vocabulary that lets you specify JavaScript words, and then you can have parameters that go into it, and then those appear as variables in that block of JavaScript, and you can manipulate the heap directly. So in this case, this word is, I think I copied this word originally from somewhere that I don't know why I had done it in the order of destination and then source, but in any event, it loads. This N is the block number, and the A is assumed to be the address of a block. And then built on top of that, I can do an implementation of the word block that just has a single buffer. because these are being copied out of memory, it doesn't take very long to do that copy every time. Not the most efficient thing in the world, probably could be optimized, but did this for now. I'm going to demo some things with this, so but I'll take questions in just a sec. So this here's a block over number 83, and I can go over into the fourth environment, and I can do things like list the block, and then you see it in here. I can load the block, and then it runs and does its thing. If I make a change to the block, let's say I want more items, I have to wait till it saves, toggle over there, and I can load it again, and I get the new behavior. Turn that back to 10 because apparently 14 was too many for the width of the screen. So I don't know quite where I'm going to take this. At the moment, I'm using it to keep notes for things that I find interesting. So far, one of the things I found the most interesting, if you happen to want to watch talks elsewhere, this fellow named Onat gave a fascinating talk at SVFig with a stack with only 2 elements, which is kind of thought-provoking and also a variant of colorforth. So if you're looking for things to stimulate your thoughts, that was certainly the one that I found fascinating, at least in the last month. And I've been, amongst other things, putting down some notes in this tool around what I think of that, and jotting little notes about as I've disassembled some of the code from his screenshots and so on. And what I haven't had a chance to do is catch. I believe he did a live stream, but after our talk. But in any event, that's what Jotblk is about. And are there any questions?
Not a question, but to say I love blogs and I love when you present, Brad. Excellent presentation.
Thank you, Peter. So always glad to make it to these, and I'm so glad that you bring together an amazing slate of talks here.